Hello, my name is Michael Alexander. Many times I'm asked, why did I join DUBLI? Because many people are considering joining DUBLI now because we're making headline news. Well, my story is interesting because I've had a very long history of success in the direct sales network marketing industry. I've built to the top of the marketing plan in 9 companies. I've been the #1 income earner in 5 of those 9 companies, always in the top income circle, and I've been the master distributor twice. So having had that level of success, at this point in my life, I really wasn't looking for an opportunity. I really wasn't even recruitable. I was unemployable. But as many of us have found, people will often give us a call because naturally we all want to recruit successful people. Well, a very good friend of mine, Dean Manheimer, whom I've known for over 25 years, we've been friends and business associates or colleagues in a few different projects, has asked me to take a look at DUBLI on more than one occasion. And over the last 11 years, the multiple times that we've talked, I've always respectfully said no because DUBLI as a reverse penny auction, which is how they started, wasn't something that at the time was a good fit for me. I was involved in other projects. But I knew Dean was very, very successful. But I recently got remarried almost 5 years ago. And about 2 years ago, Dean gave me a call. And my wife and I were actually planning to retire to her home country in Indonesia, and we were going to make our home in Bali. And so when I got a phone call asking me to take a look at a business, I really wasn't open or receptive. But Dean told me that the things that all these years that he told me he wanted to tell me, now he could tell me. Well, that's an interesting way to kind of begin a conversation. Why didn't you tell me before? But the reality was he couldn't tell me. But he invited me to come into the DUBLI office in South Florida to meet several multi-billionaires. Well, I don't get an invitation every day to go meet multi-billionaires, so I naturally accepted the invitation, but I wanted to know who they were. He told me one of the individuals I would be meeting was none other than one of the co-founders of Microsoft. Not just a co-founder, but one of the co-founders that Microsoft credits with being one of the 5 most important, powerful, influential contributors to Microsoft's legacy. Well, I consider that to be an opportunity of a lifetime, but I told him, you know, I don't want there to be any hard feelings, Dean, because I'm really not open or receptive, and I don't want to waste anyone's time or anyone's money, but I'd love to meet this individual and the other people behind DUBLI. So we decided that I should come in anyway because he was absolutely convinced that I would change my mind. So my wife and I, we took the trip to South Florida, and we were introduced to these individuals, and Dean was right. We did change our mind. We were completely and totally blown away. You know, over many, many years, the success stories of some of the legacy companies like Microsoft and Google and Facebook, you know, I've often thought, wow, I wish Bill Gates had asked me to join him when he launched Microsoft. I would like to think I was smart enough to say yes. Many people weren't smart enough and said no. Don't you know they regret that? But those who did join Bill, or those who joined Steve Jobs when Apple was launched, or some of the other hugely successful, you know, most highly successful and highly valued companies in the world today are the internet technology e-commerce based companies. And of course, it's no secret, I'm watching what's going on in the world, and I've always thought, wow, I wished I could be in the right place at the right time. And when I was introduced to DUBLI, their business model completely and totally blew me away. The reason is because DUBLI isn't trying to bring to market yet another e-commerce business model that would compete with, say, an Amazon.com, or for that matter, any of the other successful e-commerce companies, or the offline companies that today are online companies like the Walmarts or the Barnes & Noble. You take Barnes & Noble as an example, it's no secret that you know, they weren't worried about Amazon when they started because Amazon when they started weren't even a good bookseller. But Barnes & Noble nearly went bankrupt. And of course, they immediately went to an online strategy. And that obviously reversed the direction they were going in. Today, they're very successful again. Well, this is happening the world over. If people are not getting involved in the e-commerce side of business, they are getting left behind because that's the world we live in today. The internet and technology, e-commerce has changed forever the world we live in. And even more exciting is what's going to be happening in the next 5 years. And it was this and more that was shared with me that completely blew my mind, because they were sharing with me DUBLI's model, which has united all of these unbelievably successful e-commerce companies, because today more and more people are going online, spending more and more time and more money for virtually everything, because just about everything is e-connected today. It's more convenient, you save money, you save time, it just makes sense. And as a result, DUBLI is delivering what all of these companies need and want. They need customers. They need us, the consumer. And DUBLI has created a global community, which the experts a decade ago was saying was going to happen. That the time would come when so many people were using the internet for so many things, spending so much time and so much money, they'd start to seek out and find communities, a safe, protected environment whereby they'd receive a lot of value, added value. And DUBLI has created the absolute highest and best value for us, the consumer, by allowing us to do business with the companies we know and trust that we want to do business with, whether we're brand shoppers or whether we're price shoppers. Because this platform, this cashback search engine, allows us to be a brand shopper and go out and find the best deals we possibly can, or be a price shopper and go out and find the lowest and best price. And then by being a DUBLI member, we're going to be rewarded with the highest and best cashback. And when I saw how much money DUBLI was rewarding us with, literally up to 70% cashback, but at least an average as a VIP customer of somewhere between 10 and 20%. And of course, one of the things I spend a lot of money on, I don't know about you, but I travel a lot and I stay in hotels, and I earn an average of 14% cash back on my hotel stays, not to mention cash back on, I recently bought an iPhone 6 Plus, just had to have it. You know, maybe you're like me, you love electronics and technology, and that's not a cheap phone, but Apple is one of DUBLI's partners, and I was so impressed that these biggest brands, the most famous brands, multi-billion-dollar brands, have chosen to come into the DUBLI online community, the global marketplace, and we as consumers get rewarded for doing what we're going to do anyway. And then when they introduced me to their private label partner program, that's what really absolutely blew my mind, because everyone in the world today would like to get in the game of e-commerce. They see so many companies making so much money in e-commerce, but a lot of businesses, whether they're small or even the large ones, are challenged at how they can find the time, the money, the resources to really launch a viable e-commerce strategy. Well, we make it possible for any organization, whether it's a nonprofit or an NGO or a small business like a restaurant or a car wash, to the very big businesses, to be able to use this global marketplace, because DUBLI has a private label partner program. They will give them this global marketplace, the DUBLI.com gateway, to all the brands out there, which there's tens of thousands of major famous brands representing virtually everything that's e-connected, and they will put that company or that organization's name and brand, and now they can represent it as their global marketplace. And as a result, they're authorized to give away unlimited VIP memberships. So they're giving a gift that keeps on giving. That's got to build goodwill with your customer base. Or it could be a corporate virtual store, because many companies have a lot of employees and they can offer it as an employee benefit, because the bottom line is simply this. Everyone in the world spends money, whether it's on groceries, whether it's on gasoline or on clothes, whether it's on entertainment, whether it's on travel, insurance, telecom, financial services, education, you name it. We spend money. And when we can save money, it just makes sense. I mean, who's going to say no to paying less? If we're doing the same thing we're already doing with the same brands that we want to do business with, and nothing changes other than the fact that after the transaction, DUBLI's going to reward us and pay us the highest and best cash back, I knew this was a business model that made sense, because this was a company that offered something that every single living person in the world today would want to take advantage of. What a marketplace, not a small marketplace, not a limited market segment, but the entire world. And of course, by helping organizations make a difference, whether they're a charity or a religious organization, a school, hospitals, we can help them have the ultimate fundraising program, providing perpetual funding for themselves by simply giving something that gives value to their supporters, their members, their founders, their followers, as well as the databases of for-profit companies, whether they be customers or employees or both. And we, if we choose to get in the game ourselves as individuals, we can be involved in the business development side of DUBLI. And what I decided, and it was interesting, it's a funny story because, my wife and I had decided before we went in that we were not going to say yes. And after being exposed to all of this and so much more, I told my wife that night I needed to talk to her. Well, she looked me in the eye and she said, "What, now you don't want to retire?" Well, I was flabbergasted because what was I going to say? But she let me off the hook. She said, "I agree. This is something that we will regret the rest of our lives if we don't take it seriously, and we need to take this seriously. We need to be involved. We're going to be a part of making a difference in so many ways and helping so many people in so many organizations." And it was almost like Bill Gates was asking me to be a part of a legacy company, because that's what DUBLI is going to become, the next legacy company. I invite you to take a serious, in-depth look at DUBLI, because I know that you will believe, and that's because you will experience the same emotions that swelled up in me when you take a look at DUBLI, because it's something you just can't say no to. It just makes too much sense.